Happy Sunday, Cosmos Nation. So I'm putting together this I'm trying to keep it within 5 minutes. We'll see if we can pull it off. Quick video to do a couple things that will help you understand better what we are looking at in terms of our thought process in regards to bringing in more students. And this is all in terms of the coronavirus. What are we looking at in regards to bringing in more students on one hand, and then always monitoring around the possibility of having to go back into some type of shutdown when we go remote again? And what is the information we look at? So today what I want to do is I want to show you some new information that is create some transparency on our website about that information. It's kind of a backstage pass as to what we're looking at and thinking about as we move through this stuff. And then I just want to really briefly also bring you up to speed on a couple of outside entities and what their potential impact is on some of the choices that we might make. All right, so let's go check out the website. Okay, so here's the district webpage. I want to get you to the spot first where you can see this new information on some of the data we're tracking. So if you go now to COVID-19 information, you should now have three new things available to you: the COVID-19 dashboard, information on voluntary Vermont weekly testing of educators, and district-based COVID tests, events. So those three things are now available. Now, when you first if you've been logging on to us for a while, you might need to refresh up here in order to make those things available, because your internet browser might be set up to just go to a cached version of this stuff. So let's take a look at the dashboard real quick. So there are three big things. I'm going to scroll past this for a minute to explain what these three big things are, based on information from the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. They talked about three core indicators, and they have this chart that they developed about three core indicators that would be a good way to measure whether or not there is a possibility of transmission in schools. This is back from September, so we haven't had a lot of new information about COVID from then. But here are those three things: cases per 100,000 people within a 14-day period, the number of positive tests during the period, so a positivity rate, and then are schools following their mitigation strategies, including masks, social distancing, hand hygiene, cleaning and disinfecting, and are we cooperating with our health department to do contact tracing? So up above, we're going to update this up here on Tuesdays and Fridays. Those will be the 2 days. And we're going to use the color codes down below that you see down here. We're going to use those color codes to then lay out how are we doing in certain areas. And at the moment, you'll notice that in terms of the 100,000 new cases per 100,000 residents over 14 days, we're in the red. But in the other two categories, we're currently in the dark green for both positivity rate in Windsor County over the last 14 days on the 29th, and whether or not we're implementing our strategies correctly and consistently. So that's what we've been tracking. We've been tracking this for a particular period of time. I can also tell you that this, in consultation with the Vermont Department of Health, the same things they were tracking over a period to determine whether or not they would ever step in and tell a school to shut down. Now, what I can tell you is that in recent conversations with the Vermont Department of Health, they have confirmed for me that they will not, based on this information now at this point, these types of indicators, they don't anticipate a situation where they would step in as an organization and tell us to shut down the schools, that it would only come from the governor's office. And they thought at one point that they might, if depending on what these things were, they might come in and tell us. We're still monitoring these as a district because I want to make sure that I'm comfortable with what we're doing. But the VDH, the Vermont Department of Health, will not step in. Here's why. I'm going to go to the next. Oh, by the way, on this same chart down below, you have information that explains where do we get this data from for Windsor County. All right, now let's move over to the next thing, which explains why VDH is telling me they will not step in to make a decision on behalf of the district. And this has to do with the voluntary testing that is available for all educators across Vermont. So I have a cut and paste of the most recent testing, which is from January 17th, 2021. And it is 1/4 of all the supervisory unions in the state of Vermont. But these numbers, what you're going to see down below, are pretty reflective of what is going on other weeks. So it is about 23, they tested almost 2,400 people, and ended up with only 2 people amongst that group of educators who were positive. This is why VDH is saying, you know what, Zach, I don't think we do not anticipate a scenario where we step in, because it looks like the amount of COVID that is present in schools is very small compared to what's happening out in the rest of society. I'm also down here, if you click on this button will take you out to this site on the Agency of Education's website, and this will allow you to take a look at what they are, at what is happening with the testing. Okay, so in this last one, it's giving you some summary information and then some drill down information on some of the events that we've had here in the district already. And I know for the most part, what you hear from me is a reasonably scripted phone call that tells you that we've had something happen at a particular building. But it's always hard because we're pretty nondescript, and we're trying to make sure that we balance the need to give out information against the individual privacy rights of the people who are involved in our district. So, and that doesn't matter whether it's staff or students. We want to make sure we are protecting people's their medical information. So here's the summary of kind of what's happened up to this point through the 30th. Quickly that we've had 8 total people in the school community who have tested positive. We had 2 situations where people we had to consider them probable cases, and we had to implement the strategies we would use with a positive case. All 4 of our schools have been impacted at this point. We have had 37 different people who have ended up being close contacts who needed to quarantine. But we've had 0 cases that we can point to at this point where there has been intra-school transmission, so transmission of the virus within the school. Now we can't track everything, and it's always possible that somehow in some way someone had some transmission within the school. But in all the people where we have a positive, and then we identify probable contacts, close contacts around that person, we're yet to have a situation where those people come back testing positive themselves. In addition to that, just in terms of drilling down, here's the other additional information we're giving you, which is each of the different events from most recent to the oldest, the school they were at, the number of confirmed positive cases of people, the number of probable cases that we had to treat like a confirmed case, and then how many in-school close contacts were there. People that we ultimately then had to ask to go quarantine too, in addition to the positive case. So it gives you an idea of kind of the scope of what's going on, which I think is probably helpful for everyone in order to help make some decisions about how risky or not risky you think it is for you as a staff member, or for you as a parent of someone in our school district. Okay, so now that we look through the website, let me answer the biggest question of all, which is what could change? We're moving towards kids being 4 days a week for families who want it at Union Street School next week. We're right on the heels of that. Elm Hill's coming up fast with that as well. At the moment, we're not able to do that at the middle school or the high school until the state level guidance changes on kids in those grades. We have to have them right now still 6 feet apart. That social distancing doesn't allow us to get those extra kids in. So we're going to keep a close eye on that. We've got our fingers crossed. The governor keeps talking about, the hope that in late April, there might be the possibility that we could do something like that. But right now, that's all hope stuff. That is not based on where the guidance is or what we're able to do. And I want to make sure people aren't confused about that. So we'll keep an eye on that. But we need a guidance change in order for that to get by. And then in terms of closure, remember what I said. We're monitoring those statistics that I showed you. There's no, VDH is not stepping in. It sounds like the state will not step in. It is on us as a district to make those types of choices and try to balance making sure that everybody's safe with all the negative impacts we know that having kids out of school are having on everybody. So we're trying to thread the needle and address both of those needs and being very conscientious about what it is. But the statistic that is not on that, which would change the game towards more closure, is if we see a change in the course of the virus in relation to intra-school transmission. Are we seeing around the state of Vermont people transmitting back and forth at a decent rate within schools? And am I seeing it in the school district? If that was the case, that would change the course of what we're up to. Right now, we're not seeing it. So if that's the case, we're going to move along on the path that we're on. We're going to be hopeful that the guidance will change towards the higher grades and that will put us in a position to start getting back to some sort of closer to normal. It's not going to be normal. We still got a lot of things we're going to have to do, but at least try to finish the spring in a way that sets us up well for the summer and then into the fall. So once again, I blew it on trying to hit 5 minutes, and I apologize. And for those of you who watched, I hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend. Thanks.